Good afternoon from the GoLocal Live Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center here in Providence. I've tried to wear my summery outfit today to feel more summery, even though the sun's kind of playing hide and seek on us here the rest of the week. I do hear that the forecast is going to get much better, especially going into the weekend. So I think this topic will fit what is officially the beginning of summer next week. Today we're going to talk about summer event planning. I've done some event planning segments in the past. Everybody gave me a lot of great feedback on them, like the guests we brought in. So today we kind of did a different smattering of different people to bring in to talk to. A lot of us are planning anniversary parties, just summer get-togethers like me, birthday parties, even graduations are happening a lot right now all the way through most of the summer. And then there's a lot of corporate event planning, a lot of family event planning that goes on. So all the guests I got today are going to be able to talk on the food side, the design and decor side, and then my last guest is going to be a kind of special thing. So let me tell you who we've got coming in today on the taste. In a few seconds, I'm going to welcome in T.R. McGrath, someone that we were just talking about. I've known him for 18 years. We did an event that we'll highlight and talk about soon, and how I met him 18 years ago. And he is with McGrath Clam Bakes and Catering. Great guy. Looking forward to him being with me. Jennifer Goins, another good friend of mine who's been in the event professional business for a very long time. She's with Peak Event Services, really knows her stuff, so I'm excited to hear some of the latest tips and trends when it comes to rentals and decor that she's got going on. And then Emery Catering. So Chef Matt is here. He's going to join us and come in. They've got a lot happening, and they're in Rhode Island and Massachusetts as well. So we're going to get his tips and the latest trends from the catering side of what he does. And then my last guest, who I was mentioning before and you've seen on social media, is Marcello. Now, Marcello runs La Gondola in Providence, and this is an operation that has grown over the last 20 to 21 years that was launched by former Mayor Buddy Cianci here in Providence, something that's got us almost to be as well known as Waterfire and the images that you see all over the place. He's added some new features, he's added some more gondolas, he's got a lot happening, and it's kind of an event that you can do on your own at any time that you come to visit the city. So he's going to be my last guest that's going to be joining me. A couple other things that I want to highlight before I bring TR in is that this coming weekend is another big weekend in the city. This past weekend we had PVD Fest. This weekend you have the Gay Pride Festival going on that takes over a large part of the city, going from South Water Street to the parades that occur here in downtown. It is an incredibly festive time. If you're out and about this weekend, definitely encourage you to come down and check it out and have some fun. And on a bit of sad news, I do have some things that we're going to be talking about over the next couple of weeks to honor Chef Anthony Bourdain, who passed away last week. A lot of Rhode Island chefs have a deep connection to him, or felt they had a very deep connection to him through his TV work, through his books. He's someone that I'd met a few times. He was no stranger to Rhode Island. It was very sad to hear of his passing. So I can tell you there are a number of us in Rhode Island that are working in some ways to honor him and support a cause that we had wished that he had more access to. So we will be talking about that in the next coming weeks. That being said, I want to welcome my first guest to get going and welcome TR in, who's got some amazing stuff already here. Hey, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for making it in. So TR and I were just chatting as we're plating this all up and getting things ready to go. 18 years.
Yeah, it's been a little while since we've known each other.
I think we both looked different back then.
Maybe a little younger.
So let's talk about that real quick before we get into the whole company-wide spectrum here. But we met at a really cool event for some pretty damn famous people.
Yeah, that was quite an event. Over 1,000 people. Or, I'm sorry, that was 3,000.
3,000 people that were for that conference.
3,000 people for the International Culinary Association Professionals.
Yeah.
And Julia Child.
Julia Child. There was Jacques Pepin.
Emeril Lagasse.
My God.
All the big names.
I think
back
Lydia
then.
Bastonish was back in here then.
All the big names that were back in 2000.
It was crazy. So this was something that I had been tasked to help put together and plan, and we actually executed this clam bake, lobster bake.
The real deal.
In Kennedy Plaza.
Yeah.
And it was, we dug a pit. Remember, we had to go through all this stuff to be able to get the pit dug? But I think
actually we brought in about 6 yards of sand and made a pit.
And made a pit, that's right. My God, that's right. We built ground. You're right. So it was an amazing thing to see, and it was very Rhode Island, very traditional New England as a whole, and that was one of the first things that you and I worked on. And over the last 18 years, I've had the great privilege of being a part of many events, both as a guest and planning in what TR and his company does. So tell us, before we get into the amazing stuff you brought here, give us a full kind of verbal overview of what the company is.
Yeah, it's the company obviously has a real proud heritage. My grandfather in the 40s and 50s used to do clam bakes sort of casually.
Right. And
he was around town. He was the go-to guy, the guy that everybody knew that would do the clam bake for him, whether it was the Elks Club or the Hibernian Hall or the Lawyers Association, the Bar Association needed a clam bake. He was always the guy. And of course he would take my dad, his son, along with him to do them. My dad had the foresight to turn it into a business.
Awesome.
So we say the founding year is 1969.
Wow.
And that's when my dad really started to turn it into a business. with the growth of tourism in the Newport area, it's grown from there. And back in 2000, like we were talking about, that's when I purchased the company from my parents. So 3 generations, and next year will be officially our 50th year, but we like to say it goes back to the 1940s and 50s.
But still, to even say that it's 50 years, that's a long time of a lot of passion from your family to be able to do that.
Yep.
I mean, I was thinking the 18 years just for you and I was a long time. So, you know, as I mentioned, this is stuff that I've been to, and it's a very traditional New England and Rhode Island thing. And you've had this opportunity, like we talked about with the culinary professionals, to meet a lot of interesting folks and a lot of people that knew that they like and attend these things, but this is not, you know, you make it look easy, but it's not an easy thing to execute.
No, an actual clam bake, the real deal, it's a lot of work. It starts days with preparation, from picking seaweed, which we're allowed to do in Rhode Island. It's in our state constitution, believe it or not.
That we can pick seaweed, do you believe that?
Citizens of Rhode Island, you're allowed to pick your own seaweed. But we do it the traditional way. We'd start with a large bonfire, so we have to get the wood, we have to get the rocks.
Yep.
It's a longer time frame. We do a lot of general catering as well, and it's nice sometimes when we just bring an oven and everything goes through the oven, and then we pack up and we go away. But the bake has to be cleaned up the next day. So, like you were talking about, that one for 3,000 in Kennedy Plaza, that was a bit of a showstopper downtown. People were driving by looking at quite the bonfire we had, but we had to clean that up at the end.
Yeah, because it's not something you would normally have in the middle of the city. So,
yeah, that's part of it as well.
So how is, and how does this stuff play in, you know, to being, how the product turns out, how the lobsters, how the clams, the oysters, the mussels, getting the seaweed, getting the sand, how does that make it not just more authentic, but how does it affect the taste and the flavor of things?
It's actually very unique. I always like to explain, when we unveil a clam bake, that's what we call it, the big unveiling, right? Unveiling. We'll invite all the guests out and we'll explain to them how their meal's cooked. And I always try to emphasize the differences in the taste. When you steam a lobster, the tail meat's almost tough in texture, right?
Right.
What you get with the bake, it's a longer cooking time, a slower method of cooking, so you get a very tender product and still very moist. All the seaweed, you get all the salt water that turns into steam. It keeps everything very moist, and you get the flavor there.
So that seaweed is the salt component that comes into it. It still adds to where they originally came from, having salt water on them.
Absolutely, all the flavors of the sea.
So when you're planning these things, and you know, you can do these events for small get-togethers at home, people that are looking forward to doing it, and not just from the bake style of it, but your traditional catering sense that you have.
Yeah, with the bake, we can do it. We do it for 10 people to, like we said, 3,000.
And these I've seen all over the place. And I was asking TR before the segment about, you know, have you done any that were public that people sold tickets to? And that happens occasionally, where someone will bring it in and have you be the person to.
Right. Yeah. Occasionally, we'll partner up with. It could be one of the special event venues that we work with.
Right.
A lot of them are nonprofits. You know, they have unique historical houses that the whole mission is to take care of that location. So we've coordinated with a few of those to do a public clam bake where, you know, they'll sell the tickets to it, and we show up, and we do a nice old-fashioned clam bake.
So if that does happen, that's something you should look out for, because you'll be in for a heck of a treat that you didn't have to organize and do all by yourself to do it. So tell us what goes behind some of this and what you brought in today. What are some of the items you brought me here today? Because this, I got to tell you, the aroma is driving me crazy. It's awesome.
You know, we couldn't do the whole clam bake right here in the studio. Obviously, the fire department might not go for that. But right here, we brought you kind of the heart of a clam bake. So it's, you know, the shellfish, the fresh seafood, and that's what we're looking for. You have, we have, of course, mussels, steamers, and some hard shell clams in here as well, and of course, the good Rhode Island lobster.
Look at these, my God, look at the size of these things. Now, where are you sourcing all this?
A lot of our steamer product comes out of Maine, actually. We use an excellent distributor that does a 40-hour filtration. You find a lot of the soft shell clams really north of the Cape.
Okay.
Hard shell clams, we use all Rhode Island stuff. There's, you know, the fishermen around here, they get more hard shell.
You're right.
It's just sort of that delineation of the Cape. We have steamers in Rhode Island, just not as abundantly right now.
And then the lobsters, is that, I mean, the lobsters I know are from Maine on down, right, to be able to get, so you can source them pretty much from anywhere in that area.
Absolutely. We use all Rhode Island product. We get them from a company right out of Point Judith.
Really?
They'll come up every day. We tell them how many we need.
That's awesome. So we've talked about this in the past, and sourcing locally and not ordering things from distances that you wouldn't think would even exist. But to be able to do this and have you guys support them, especially this time of year, it's got to be a big deal. I mean, you're keeping people employed and in work, and being able to also get it the freshest you could possibly can.
I mean, it's a win-win situation. We want those guys going out in the boats and fishing, but you got to support them, like you said.
Absolutely.
And to do so, we got to have the product. So it's a winning circle.
Now, I'm eating these all year round, just for the record. It's not something I would eat just in the summer, but I love the fact that you can get this done. And this is, you got your lobster dinner survival kit. So this is something that I think I need at home for permanent.
Absolutely.
Look at this. That is awesome.
Got to have the bib.
I love the bib. I love the bib. And then we've even got how to eat a lobster. I've had to use this more times than I can tell you because I always think I know what I'm doing and I make the biggest mess in the world. A good tutorial there.
Absolutely.
All right,
and we're always happy to show people, obviously, the clam bake. It's so unique to Rhode Island. I did a wedding just this past Saturday, and the groom's family were all Swedish.
Oh my
and
gosh.
when we brought them out for that unveiling, they were just amazed.
They were just in awe.
Yeah,
an absolute
because
awe.
they've had lobster, but they've never had it that way.
See,
and the taste is so different.
And it is a unique thing. I have family that's from upstate New York, and when they attended one of the events that you did for us, it was their mouths were the same thing. They're like, we go to clam bakes. We don't go to bakes like this, like lobster bakes. They're used to going in and having some clams in a bag, and that's it. You know?
Rick, I can't tell you how many people will come up to me after, and they could be 65 years old, say, I've lived in New England my whole life and never been to a real clam bake.
See, there you go. Authenticity. It's important. What else did you bring here?
So one thing, because we're talking about summer parties, summer weddings, corporate events.
Everything.
One item that's really popular right now is minis. We call them minis. So essentially, it's basically the vessel that you're putting in. It's a miniaturized vessel. So this is a little take just on chowder and clam cakes.
Love that.
So you have a mini
so
clam cake right on top.
You know why this is great for people like me? Because you can do this at the same time that you're doing this.
Exactly.
My motif. All right.
And then we also, so just again, a mini strawberry shortcake. So what perfect complement to a clam bake, if that's what your menu is a past mini strawberry shortcake. And we send our wait staff around.
And see, I think
and again, does not interrupt your wine glass.
Exactly. There you go. All right. What do we got over here that I'm going to be tasting here now?
Again, a lot of past elements to especially a wedding. So people do signature drinks. I came up today, obviously, from Newport. Dark and Stormies are still very popular down there.
They're very popular,
Ginger
I think,
beer,
even up here.
Gosling's rum.
Cheers.
Cheers. One of my favorites in the summer.
And absolutely delicious. So before I let the chef go, there's a couple of quick things that I know that people have asked and I want to make sure we cover as well. In the process of planning these, you know, when we talk about this, it sounds very intimidating, but it's your team and yourself that's executing the work to do it. When someone's not sure that how the process goes or what they need to do, you guys walk them through everything. It's kind of an education for the consumer as well at the same time, right?
Absolutely. Planning your wedding, for instance. Right. You know, we deal with corporate planners and they have the list of what they want. Your wedding, it's a very emotional time. You're dealing with family, you're dealing with, you know, you're putting everything together. It's one of the biggest events you've ever planned, and it's very obviously important to you. Our event coordinators in our office are excellent at pointing out the details and coordinating everything for you and giving you the suggestions that might help your day and make your life easy.
And that's what I was just going to do. The point of making your life easier is let them tell you what you need to do on your side of things because it'll be much more minimal than what they have to come in to be able to execute and do. But this is not anywhere near as bad. And when I tell you the professionalism, the side of it, we had an event, I forget, you and I last spoke at the end of last season, you had an event that you did for the International Live Events Association. The food kept coming, and you guys make it look flawless. You make it look easy to come out. And this is from an event professional standpoint, standing there being able to enjoy it. So. And then you brought, what is this here? You got rosé?
So rosé is real popular right now. This has been nicknamed, this is Whispering Angel. It's been nicknamed down in Newport, Newport Water.
Newport Water!
Very popular down there, so we figured we'd bring you a little of that.
I never have a bad time tasting rosé.
Good taste for the summer.
So Chef, out of doing this all the 18 years that you've been doing this and having the family tradition that's been there for so long, is it still one of your favorite things to do? Is it still one of your favorite things to enjoy and eat, or is it when you're cooking, you're doing something completely different for yourself?
No, this is really the best. And part of it, when we do an event, and like I mentioned, it's showing it off. It's showing off that part of really our area, our heritage, Rhode Island's heritage, and showing that to the guests. And again, some of the wows, and you know, just hearing that it was one of the best lobsters they've ever had after is the rewarding part.
I couldn't agree more. Well, thank you for making the time to come in today. You showcased a lot. We're going to list a lot of stuff from the interview. I still put some more stuff on social media. It's absolutely worth talking to the chef's team because even himself, I've seen you go in and consultations with the customers and stuff like that, but get your questions answered when you're trying to plan this stuff because we mentioned several times this wow factor that comes out of it. you're not going to have somebody walking away without that wow factor. And this is amazing. Just the presentation today is amazing. So, Chef, thank you for making the time.
Rick,
really good to see you.
As always, pleasure.
And I'm sure I'll be seeing you a lot more of the summer at many events.
Absolutely.
All right, Taylor's going to help us kind of clear. I'm going to keep that actually because that'll be my go-to for later on. But I'll let you guys kind of grab some of these. Yep. She'll do it on the way out, okay, back out there. Yep. Taylor. You're going to get great pictures of this. There you go. All right. So as we set up just a little bit for our next guest coming in, I'm going to get us ready. And as the chef was saying, and we were going back and forth, the amount of time and effort that they've put into these things to be able to plan them, this is what makes your events flawless. And whether you're doing, and again, TR does regular catering jobs as it comes as well. I've been at events where I've had stations with them, I've had different past appetizers. They know their product, they know their stuff, they're worth engaging to have you come in, and a consultation takes no time and it will make you feel a lot more at ease to make it happen. So that being said, I'm actually going to leave this out and I'm going to share with Jen that's coming in. I want to bring in Jen Gullins from Peak Event Services. Jen, you ready? You smelling all that seafood?
I do. It smells amazing. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you.
Thank you for having me.
So TR just left us Whispering Angel, which is, he said Newport water, so you're going to have to help me have some of this. So.
Well, I like Newport water.
Newport water, I know. See? So Jen and I have known each other also for a very long time. Another person I'm very happy to be able to call a friend from all of our years in the event industry. And you have kind of been there now that Peak has morphed because it was Rentals Unlimited. Right?
Yes, yeah.
And had been known forever in a company that I used for a very, very long time. And Peak took over, how long has it been now?
A little over 2 years.
A little over 2 years
yeah.
with Peak Event Services.
Yeah.
And when Peak came in, it kind of helped you guys grow from a footprint of how big you were and how many areas you're servicing, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to have Jen give an overview of what Peak does, but I want to preface it just with this conversation that herself and her team, I want to give a shout out to Allie, who I know and I work with from the International Live Events Association. They've got so much together, and it goes back to what I was saying about TR, about ask the questions. Everything that you're going to hear on this thing is about how to get you educated to ask these questions to make sure that everything you do looks outstanding and amazing. She's been in the event industry for a very long time. She knows her stuff like the back of her hand. I've called her with questions that I still don't know the answers to on some things. So, and you were a former president, past president, just last year
yes.
for the International Live Events Association Rhode Island chapter, and she's about to join what we call the Dead President Society. So that's all of us that have been past presidents. So we've worked together closely, and again, I can't highlight enough about how well she knows her things. But give us kind of a verbal overview of what Peak has, because I think a lot of people don't understand the vast amount of things that they have opportunity to use.
At Peak Event Services, we have just about any rental need that a person might have. We can fill anything from tents to dance floors to stages, all of your china, flatware, glassware needs. We have a custom fabrication department. We have soft seating for lounge furniture, both indoor and outdoor. And we also have extensive services in the way of production and orchestration for large, complicated events, as well as design services to help people pull all of the details together. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to, and when she talks about tables and chairs, it's everything from your standard garden chair to a 6-foot rectangular table, all the things that you consider your basic needs when you're having it. And I can tell you, just from the amount of parties that I attend around my house, the people that are ordering these things on a regular basis, because you don't own them. They're not things that you would normally have there. Even having extra china, even having extra glasses, and it's last minute things that often you don't want to miss to worry about. But you mentioned the decor side of things. Yes.
And I want to kind of highlight this because it's been a trend that's evolved. There used to be just that you would call a planner and they would go source all the decor for you and you never knew where it came from or if they bought it or owned it. But the style, and I tried to post really good pictures on social media. You had a spring shoot that I posted that was really, really spring colors, one of the pictures I put up today, to kind of highlight the amount of items that you have and how to pull all that together. What are some, if you think about that, for explaining, what are some of the things that are available for people?
You know, when you're talking about decor, it really begins with what is the theme of the event and really understanding what you're looking for the outcome of the event to be. Some clients, whether they might be a planner or a caterer or even an individual homeowner who's planning an extravagant party in their yard, they might look for a little guidance on how they make their vision work.
Right.
And at Peak Event Services, we have thoroughly trained staff, all with an eye for trend and style, and they can help you to really dive deep into what your passion and vision is for your event, and pull products that complement. Things like candelabras or even lanterns to decorate. We have hedge walls if you're looking to make a really interesting backdrop, or barnwood walls. As you know, in the events industry, you can create anything anywhere.
and I think it ties into who you're catering. So if you're doing, something with TR that you're doing a lobster or a clam bake, you've got gorgeous farm tables, things that are out there. And people are like, someone made a comment to me on, is that something that was there when they went to the space and did it, or was it theirs? It was theirs.
Yes.
It's very hard to find these type of things that are out there. That you can just physically own and have. So from farm tables to being able to do it, someone else mentioned to me in the questions, they look like a garden party, one of the pictures that I put up. And for you guys, you mentioned the hedge wall, to be able to put that up and do that. So all these avenues of things that are there, and I'm finding, and I think a lot of people in the industry are finding now, that people are theming out even a graduation party.
It's all about the experience.
Right.
It absolutely is. And to Rick's point, garden parties, Cirque du Soleil themed events. We do Harry Potter themed events.
Right.
People really want to create an experience that wows their guest when they walk in. And it could even just be a small focal piece of a dessert station or a food station that they want to draw a lot of attraction to. And adding rental elements into that can really elevate the visual on it.
Right, and there's, from a visual perspective, is that I think the book, was it a lookbook, is that what the name was?
Yes.
I went on there, and I thought that was fantastic because in my mind, and I always tell people that Pinterest is great for specific things, but I feel when you're planning an event, you really need to look at what somebody has that can help you execute what you think your look's going to be. This lookbook, to me, was the answer to it. I don't know who did the shots or who put that together for you guys, but I thought it was a fantastic way to give yourself a visual experience. It was literally like flipping the pages on your website. It was great.
Exactly.
It was great.
And we have them for seasons. We have them for different, styles or expressions that people are looking for, whether it be a romantic wedding or maybe it is, a large-scale corporate gala or nonprofit gala. There's so much out there.
Right, and from an education standpoint, and going back to this, aside from the corporate side of things, so if you're a personal person, you're going to throw this big party in your yard for an 50th anniversary party or your son's graduation from college, what's the process? What would you recommend that people know? Because a lot of people just get frightened. They get scared about, I don't know where to begin, how to start. Sure. What's the process, and what are the best things that you give people tips that they should look for or talk to your team about?
When we start talking to people about, in regards to, say, an individual, about hosting an event maybe at their home, the first place to start is to really discuss the tenting needs. We are in New England. We always recommend coverage, whether it be, a really hot July or August day where you might need shade, or whether it might rain. Either way, you're going to need coverage. So that's sort of one place to start. It's always best to ask a professional to come out and take some measurements of the property. With tenting, there's a number of nuances regarding permitting and safety issues that you really have to be have to be concerned about. So we like to be able to send out one of our professional team members to come in and really measure out the property. And from there, it can be a collaboration with the various vendors. Someone like McGrath's Catering might be coming in to do a clam bake, and they'll have specific needs that will want to be met in terms of what size platters are they going to use, and shall it be family style, and so on. And that can help sort of direct the theme of the event. And then from there, you have to talk about the experience. Right. Is it rustic? Would they like farm tables? And presenting some ideas that will meet their needs for their visual requirements. We can help people with mapping out budgeting, and really understand how to achieve what there looking for in the right ways.
So she mentioned the word achieve, and she mentioned the word budgeting, two very good buzzwords in that sentence to kind of educate people, because that's where I think a lot of us kind of get confused on that, is that you have to kind of measure out your expectations of what you're looking for, and then sit down with someone like yourself or your team to go through and say, okay, this is what the reality is of what something costs and how you can make it happen, and how you can be flexible, because what you set out to achieve might be a little bit different by the time you get to the end of it.
Exactly. The visuals that we all see online, there's so much out there that catches our eye and to look at, but like anything, things come in different price ranges. And I always kind of joke and say that planning a party is like buying a house.
It's true.
What kind of house are you in the market for?
Right. That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Because we can find the right needs. We can fit your needs within the right budget. It's just a matter of having those candid conversations too.
So you've seen, I mean, you and I have been both doing this for a long time, and you've seen a lot of things that have evolved from trends to challenges that are out there. What are some of the latest trends or the latest things that you've seen that come out that people have not experienced yet?
Some of the latest trends that we're seeing evolve, introduced a few years ago were the farm table craze, which is still really popular. That has kind of morphed into linenless dining tables of all different, different stains, different styles. We offer several different options in linenless dining tables. Some of the other ideas that people are looking for are really interesting seating options. Some people have utilitarian needs where they need to seat X amount of chairs at a table and they might only have so many options, whereas some are looking for some really interesting dining seating options, something that they might have at their own dining table.
Right.
We actually just brought in a fabulous new chair, the Chameleon chair, and we offer it in both gold and silver. And this chair as a standalone dining chair is gorgeous and comfortable and seats well at a table, but it also has the ability to dress it up and accessorize it with chair backs and coverings of all different kinds. There's over 250 options and coverings of this chair.
Really?
Yeah, it's really phenomenal. So
250?
Yeah, and we are the exclusive provider of it here in our region. So
that's awesome.
If you're really looking for an interesting chair option, that's a great.
It's called Chameleon.
Chameleon.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's a cool name.
Because it can,
I was going to say 250 options. That's definitely a chameleon for you.
Yeah. We also find that people are looking for alternative seating at events, and you've probably seen this, right? Lots of lounge seating, different styles of dining where there might be a dining table, but it might be paired with banquettes as instead of individual seats. So we offer a lot of options in soft seating, whether it be ottomans or banquettes and sofas. We also offer really extensive design services to style those sofas. So if you would like to think about a fully styled living room, if you were to walk into someone's home and experience their fully styled living room, they might have the perfect pillows and they might have, the perfectly placed.
Makes you envious.
Exactly. So we can come in and do that with your event. We can come in and stage your event so that it really has those extra touches.
So two other kind of points that go along with that is that what would you advise? And a lot of people watching I know are people that are not professionals, haven't done this before, and may have a big special occasion that's coming up. From a time frame standpoint, there really is not that many months where it's quiet anymore from an event industry standpoint. I mean, we look at some months in the winter, but other than that, from now till October, you guys are jamming. You just had all the graduation seasons. Now you go into wedding season, and then people's parties at their homes. But from a time frame standpoint, when someone's looking to do this, is there a window that you tell them they really should start to prepare and bring all this information together?
Being in the event industry, we could help someone pull together an extensive event in 3 to 4 weeks if we had to.
Right.
So it really could be short term with the right amount of help. Certainly with any event, it's always polite to send out your invitations within a certain time. So really, whatever that invitation time frame is, you can kind of pull things together. If you're looking to host an event in your backyard, you'll want to do that about 30 days out at least. Due to permitting issues, you've got to obviously submit for permitting from the towns, and that takes about 30 days. So there are some restraints there when you start thinking about those things. I would say the average time frame for planning these types of details, 2 to 3 months for most people. Okay.
Which is a reasonable time to think about it.
Yeah.
It also allows you time to get your budgets and such in order.
Exactly.
Now, I mentioned that Jen's passed and how long she's been in the business, and also her affiliation with the International Live Events Association. I think one of the things that's also comforting from that position is that your team has a great familiarity with vendors, not just in Rhode Island, but throughout New England.
Yes.
That you do. And being a part of ILEA, you've got connections that go above and beyond that throughout the world to that point. So in mentioning, she's mentioned about permits and requirements and things that are out there that you always want to make sure you take care of, is that I think knowing that you guys have got that familiarity, it helps, because there isn't anybody that I haven't seen you guys have the ability to work with and cross paths to come together on.
Yeah. In our industry, it's incredibly important to be out there and be part of these industry organizations that can help grow your professional networking, but also help you grow from an educational standpoint. Yeah. We learn so much from all of the partners that we work with every day, and they teach us so much about what trends they're seeing in the marketplace and how we can better serve the clients. Yeah. Whether it be an event planner or a caterer, they're bringing ideas back from their clients as well, and exposing us to that, which is always wonderful, and we welcome that.
And so a big key, don't hesitate to ask the questions. I mean, when you're looking visually and you've got these great plans and great ideas, don't hesitate to ask, because they're going to tell you how you can execute it, who you can work with if it's not them,
Yes.
and how to make it all come together. So,
exactly.
Jen, thanks for making the time today. Cheers to you.
Thank
Have a little bit of some of
you.
the Newport water here.
Cheers.
We'll go out there and finish that. Glad to hear everybody.
Fabulous.
But thank you very much. Glad you
Thank
came in.
you.
Good to see you. All right. So, more tips, more trends that we got. Now we're going to switch back to the catering side of things a little bit and bring in Chef Matt from Emery's Catering. We wanted to try to highlight two different styles of two different things. Where TR concentrates on a lot. Chef Matt here concentrates on other styles. Oh boy, more drinks. I'm liking this drink part of this whole thing here. Hey Chef.
How are you?
Good to see you. Thanks for coming in today.
All right.
All right. So we're going to start out with and I got some questions about this, and I think there's a bunch of culinary students out there now that school's let out. Kind of tell us how you got started in this, because I asked the same question to TR, and we'll get into an overview of Emery's in a second, but kind of tell me how you got into this in your background.
Sure. So this is a family business for me. I actually kind of grew up in it.
Nice.
I started doing dishes at the dish station as soon as I could see over the drain board. My mother used to bring back to the house cases of plastic forks that I would count as a kid. So I really grew up in it. My grandfather started it probably, I think, 45 years ago.
Wow.
So as far as getting started, that was it.
It was a
my
family
whole
business.
Family business. Grew up in it. Got the whole thing.
And starting washing dishes, that's how you know you're entering a family business, because you have to literally do like you would do in your home, the lowest job.
Yes.
So
yes, exactly.
Did you? Was your training to get into this? Was it all hands-on?
So out of high school, I actually did 4 years in the U.S. Navy as a
really?
chef. Yes, I was on two separate aircraft carriers. Did 2 tours in the North Arabian Sea.
Wow.
I got a lot of training there, a lot of good experience there.
Well, thank you for your service
as you
first
can
and
imagine.
foremost. So
You're
thank you
welcome,
for
of
that.
course.
But so you forget what you learned at home. Then you had the real hands-on.
Yes. Yep. We got formal schooling. We got on the ship, on the job training. 12, 14 hours a day. It was a great experience as a kid. That is. I don't think I'd do it again.
Yeah,
but,
I was going to say I wouldn't.
Yes.
But that's amazing. So that has put you into a really good position, and I have to imagine that helped range your perspective on things, like how you looked at things. I mean, the style of cooking, the style of things that were coming out, and to what you were doing with your family. So the business was all going on even while you were away, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So I got to see a lot of different things when I was overseas. We hit a lot of ports, a lot of European ports. We hit Singapore, a couple different places. We got to experience some of the food, and there were a lot of great places that we went. So yes, that was definitely a good experience for me. On the aircraft carrier, in the galley, there were a lot of different people from different areas.
Right.
So everybody had their little influence, and you did get to learn a variety of different cooking techniques and all sorts of different stuff.
What an unreal experience. Again, thank you. That's
No problem.
so cool that you're able to have that. So now tell us a little bit about the family business. So tell us about Emery's Catering, where you guys are located, the style of what you guys are doing in the events. I tried to put up some great pictures that are out there, but also, again, I want to highlight for all my guests, checking out their websites is a great thing to do as well. But tell us a little bit about Emery's.
Like I said, Emery's Catering was started by my grandfather about 45 years ago. The roots of the company are really in sort of like the Central Falls, Pawtucket area.
Okay.
They were there for years and years. We just got a brand new state-of-the-art commissary across the street from the airport down in Warwick. It's a fantastic facility. I'm so excited to be there. The staff is so excited to be there.
Tremendous.
It's everything's brand new. It's beautiful. It's clean. It's great. I love it.
It's great when that happens.
It's, there are floor drains. It's
all the things that you guys don't have to worry about that on this side we worry about.
It's a cook or a culinary professional's absolute dream. So it's great.
So has the company, in 45 years, and you're just saying you moved into a new space, you guys have had an evolution as well as to how you've expanded the types of jobs that you're doing. And
absolutely.
And I saw, and correct me if I'm wrong, did I see that you're catering in Massachusetts as well, not just Rhode Island?
Yes, we do southeastern Mass. We stay just about south of Boston.
Okay.
But we do, sometimes we travel out to the Cape to do weddings and, corporate events, that sort of thing.
And then obviously we go all the way down to Newport and the mansions down there. And we even go into Connecticut a little bit.
Oh, really? All right.
Yeah, we've done a couple of events out there.
So from a perspective now, and with TR when we came in, he does some general catering, but he's also very focused on what he does with the lobster and the clam bakes. Talk to us about the style of the type of events that you can do and the types of food that Emery's is able to put out there.
Sure. So our food is primarily divided into sort of two sections. One is our sort of social or corporate catering line, which is a lot of sort of weekday stuff, corporate parties, corporate luncheons. The other side of that is the weddings or special events. The special events industry, obviously, is a very large industry in this area. We have one of the largest markets in Newport in the U.S., and it's great to go down there to work in those fantastic venues. The style of food that we do, I would say, is probably classic American wedding food. Okay. And so we take that base of the classic American wedding food and we keep it trendy. We try to come up with new things. We have a churro station here.
I'm loving this right now.
And one of the new trends that we've seen a lot of lately is the late night snack station. So after the meal is done, after the dancing, you cut the cake, and then when we bring out something like this. So people seem to like it and they enjoy it. And I found that a lot of the late night snack stations are replacing sort of a cut the cake or whatever. People are looking for almost like a carnival food.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They want to come up, they want a cotton
something where you kind
station.
of got munchies at the end of the night still.
Exactly.
And what's funny is that you say this is that I went to a birthday party last month for a friend of mine that's older than mine. It was a 50th birthday party, and his wife had done that at the end. So like, it was a long party. We were there for like 5-6 hours. And at the very end, when people needed to have something still in their system because whether they were drinking or talking too much, whatever, is that they had similar to this. So it was, they had like little sliders, and then they had the desserts that came out, and then there was even popcorn.
Sure.
To be able to do that.
Yeah,
so
we do the little bags of popcorn I've seen. That's popular. The grilled cheese station. It's not
love that.
not super fancy, but definitely a great idea.
Yeah, but like you said, there's ways to put tips or put
sure,
the trending side
you do
on
like the pesto and the bacon and
bacon.
you make a real you make a real end of the night impression with the guests.
You can't go wrong with anything with bacon, just for the record.
There you go.
Anything with bacon, you can't go wrong. Yep. So you've kind of seen, and being where you were, going from a child to the Navy to now this, you've seen these trends evolve, the new things that are out there, and people trying to do, like you said, a twist on the traditions.
Yes, definitely.
So when you guys are meeting someone and you've got, so again, talking about the simplest effect of someone maybe doing something in their backyard, we were mentioning earlier about it's graduation season and a lot of anniversaries and even summer parties with people coming through. Are you guys, when someone's coming in and telling you they don't know what they want, they just know we want to do something, are you guys making the suggestions? Are you trying to pull more information from them? What's the recommendation?
So typically our clients will come in fairly prepared with what basically now amounts to a graduated Pinterest board. Okay,
and we were just talking about Pinterest.
Pinterest is great for this because they come in with the ideas, the raw sort of, this is kind of what I think I want, but I'm not really 100% sure, and then we get to sort of formulate it and make it into an event.
Okay.
And that sort of recipe seems to be fairly successful.
Good. All right. So what did you bring today? So you just mentioned this.
So we got the churro station. Just a couple of toppings here. We got melted chocolate. We have some icing. The churro station on our menu has about 5 different toppings. So we'll bring it out and we fry them right on site. It's a really, people love it.
I love it. I'm going to be doing the vanilla icing at the end of this right now.
Sure. Additionally, this is a cucumber grapefruit spritzer.
Nice.
What we've seen, one of the trends lately is people like, especially in the summertime, light, refreshing cocktails.
Absolutely.
They want a signature drink. They want it to be, light. Cucumber is sort of one of those trendy things that we work with a lot. And,
it's crazy how cucumbers become trendy.
Yes, actually made with cucumber vodka as well.
Really?
Yes.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
I've got to try that. Well, you aren't kidding when you say refreshing.
Yeah. Yep.
God, this could replace my gin and tonics.
Yeah. It's one of those things that our professional bartenders came up with, and we actually used it at a recent event. So
we were mentioning, on tips and trends about this, about the style and the late night things. Have you noticed any differences or recommendations that you would give people on how to set up the menus? Like a lot of things right now for the summertime at parties and stuff like that is buffet style to come out and do it. Is there any recommendations of foods that you tell people that they should kind of stay away from, especially in the summer, because you're always, a lot of these are outdoors?
Sure.
So is there things that you think that are important for people to consider?
Yeah, I mean, from a catering perspective, we're always looking at the venue and the cooking equipment that the venue has. A lot of people anybody that is working in a budget, we can't bring a full kitchen down there.
Right.
So we're always looking at different, some of those aspects. But I would definitely say, I would definitely say that I've geared the menu that we have toward catering. So we don't necessarily put a risotto on there because it has to go from oven to plate in 30 seconds and you have to eat it. When you're doing 100 meals in 13 minutes,
right.
We need food that's going to hold up for those 13 minutes. So definitely the food on our menu is geared specifically toward
the environment in which you're preparing.
Exactly.
Oops, that was my bad. Oops. Taylor, I made a mess. So in going beyond that, though, in talking about that, it's important, I think, to talk about how, if you're going to, and that's important in the kitchen aspect. That's what I want to try to go to. So a lot of people, and we were talking about Jen with the things that you have, is preparing a cook tent if there's an option to be able to do that, for you to have certain things on site for it. But a lot of the food, you want to keep temperature. So you want to keep things that can stay heated, or things that can stay cool for the spring and the summertime.
And in catering, we have a lot of different ways to do that. We have ovens on wheels, we have grills on wheels, we have portable burners that's similar to like a six-top burner, but it's a single, and it runs on butane. So we have a lot of different ways to to make that event happen, to keep that food where it's supposed to be, well within the health department.
And you can give the suggestions for what people may need for that type
Absolutely.
of thing.
We wouldn't, if I felt uncomfortable with the particular food product and I wasn't comfortable that we could keep it within that food safety zone, we wouldn't do it.
Okay, great. So I guess this comes back to a lot of the times too is about asking these questions, going back to what I said to my first two guests, is that anything can kind of be done. You can execute as much as you want or as little as you want to be able to have these things happen. These guys, from what I saw, and you had amazing, amazing pictures too, talking about the churros. You had great pictures on your site about desserts. So going from beginning to end to whatever that is, and I want to empty the rest of that one out, that was a waste, but going from beginning to end of what it's going to be for you is the questions that you need to talk about through. And he mentioned that the Pinterest boards and how people come in with the ideas of what they want.
Absolutely.
I've still had people that have come to me and said, okay, I want to have this hot food and this hot food and this hot food, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna have anything cold. You want to kind of,
you definitely need that balance.
Right.
Definitely need that balance. And our event planners, when the clients come in, they really are experts at making making that event happen the way that the client wants it, and also keeping in mind the food safety and the venue that you're at. And so there's a lot of different things to take into consideration.
And I think timing too. So timing is something that you want to kind of figure out, whether you're starting with going from past appetizers in the beginning for something you're doing to opening up a station and then going to the late night thing, which I encourage the late night thing for sure. I think that's
it really is the grilled cheese.
Oh my God, seriously. And like I said, I just saw this at a party last month, and I do think that it is, talking about a trend, I do think it is a new way to go. And I've had someone tell me, friends of mine in Newport, that they're going to be doing a late night thing, and that's what they're looking to do. Is that people are going to show up late and it's just cocktails and that picky style food.
Sure.
Not the big extensive thing to do. Well, Chef, thank you. This was awesome for you to come in. Sorry I messed up the drink because I would have drank the whole thing like there was no tomorrow. But thank you. You guys got a lot going on. Congratulations again to what you've achieved. The new pantry station, the new commissary that you got is unbelievable. That's
wonderful.
And in Warwick, you said, right?
Yes, it's down in Warwick.
That's awesome. But thank you again, Chef. Really appreciate you making the time.
Take care.
Taylor, grab that with you. A new one out of the box, new one of these. All right, so now that I'm done making messes, I could have made a big mess with the lobster the more than I did with the drink. So we kind of set this up so that we covered the, so that we covered the food side of things and the event side of things, and then led into something that I was mentioning in the beginning that to me is kind of an event that you can do on your own and be a part of for the various things happening in the city. I talked about at the beginning of the segment how Pride Fest is going on. Last weekend was PVD Fest, and then the weekend after that, coming into Providence, the 22nd is going to be the Federal Hill Summer Festival that's happening up there. So this is something that you can do anytime when you're coming into the city for any of these things. So I'd like to welcome in Marcello from La Gondola. You missed the mess I just made. Hey, bud.
That's all right.
Good to see you.
In 45 minutes, I've seen you drink wine and vodka, so.
I'm disappointed. I would have drank the entire thing. I think in 15 months, it's the first time I've actually spilled a drink. I'm usually better than that with it.
Nice.
So as you can tell, fully outfitted. So many people have made comments that they've seen you even in this outfit away from the water.
It's really nothing else in my closet.
I saw you last week at the Federal Hill Stroll,
Yes, indeed.
and he was dressed like this. I think he took the hat off eventually, but
Right.
he was dressed like this even up at the Federal Hill Stroll. So there's a lot of excitement, and I've got a lot of great feedback on social media about how this evolved. And I mentioned at the beginning of the segment that, and I think you and I spoke about it, is it 20 or 21 years since the gondolas have been?
21 that it started. I started rowing in 99, 19 years ago.
19 years ago.
Yeah.
So again, I feel very old now to say this, but I've been here, and it was launched by former Mayor Vincent Cianci that did this. So when you started this, okay, before the company became yours and you've now taken it to where it is today, tell us how you got into it and what that entailed, the training.
Sure. So I was actually on summer break from school, summer of 1999, and I worked in a warehouse the previous year. So each year my parents said, you need X thousands of dollars, you're not going back to Lehigh. So I'd sat around for a couple of weeks. I ended up at the first temp agency on my list, and she didn't have anything well paying enough for me to go back to school. But I happened to mention that I joined the crew team. And she said, crew means rowing, right? I said, yeah. And she said, well, I was at a job fair at Providence College a couple weeks ago, and there was a company looking for gondoliers. So I said, sign me up. It's my dream job.
Get out.
And the long and short of it is, I mean, this was so long ago that she did not have internet on her computer. So we were searching through the yellow pages trying to find a gondola company. Couldn't find it anywhere, but I said, don't worry, I will find this number. Went home and I called City Hall. I got bounced around to a couple different departments, and then finally through to the mayor's office. And of course, in Mayor Cianci's office, they knew it right off the bat.
Yeah.
I called the number, and she said, you're hired. Back then, it was a husband and wife who ran the show. He rowed one of the boats. She answered the phone all day, but they had 2 gondolas
Right.
and only one guy to row them. So I started training the next day, trained for about a month, maybe about 20 or 25 hours of water time, and I took my first trip on the 4th of July, 1999.
Really?
Yeah.
So did you ever think, going back to that moment, that you'd be where you are today?
No. So I'll admit, I became a school teacher after college. So I always thought that this would just be the greatest summer job in the world, and I would, you know, teach for 40 years and then row until my arms fell off and travel the world afterwards. But I couldn't imagine a better life than since I decided to
And I have to throw out a personal connection. Your beautiful wife used to be someone that made me look as good as I could possibly be by being my hairstylist and cutting my hair for a number of years. And now you have a beautiful family.
Yes, indeed.
And it's funny, we were speaking on the phone, and one of your children was interrupting, and you're like, as soon as I get off the phone with Rick, I'll talk to you. I deal with that every day with all 4 of my kids, even the 14-year-old, so it doesn't change.
Right.
Unfortunately, it doesn't change. And it was the cutest thing to see, and you've got great pictures, and your children are absolutely beautiful. So.
They're awesome. Actually, so the big news around here is that today is our younger daughter's first birthday.
Oh.
So happy birthday to Aylin.
There you
Born
go.
June 13th, 2017.
Aylin, you just got your first shout out.
Yeah.
See, there you go.
And our other daughter, Anya, is the one who was interrupting you on the
She
phone.
was so cute. So
Yeah, they're both fantastic.
going from this evolution and to where you are now, and starting when you were a kid, going through the rowing, you've navigated the Providence River, going from Waterplace Park all the way down. I mean, you guys have gone, how far down do you go? You've gone to like,
We usually go down to the old 195 foundation where they're
Okay.
building the new pedestrian bridge. But we
right,
actually
yeah.
launched the boats outside of the barrier. So twice a year at least, we're outside of the barrier up to Seekonk.
wow. So this, and you know, I'm not sure if a lot of people realize this, and this plays into waterfire schedule too, but it's brackish water because it's on a tidal pool there.
It is, yep. We have about a 4 or 5 foot swing, even this far away from the ocean, from high to low tide. So it's pretty significant.
Right. And that's a lot to manage from you guys going out there. I mean, not just from the boat standpoint and your physical thing, but your physical work of how
Right.
you're moving the boats around.
You know, I always tell a new gondolier, you know, you're always kind of in this chess match, you against the conditions in Providence. And not just the tide and the current, but more the wind than anything else. And the way that it plays off of different buildings in the city, because, you know, it's not just this wide open river. There's twists and turns and buildings on all sides, and it really it makes for a fun and interesting experience.
You never know if you're going to run into a floating piece of wood that's left over from water
You
fire.
never know.
So,
although they try to keep that.
yes, I know.
happening.
They did.
They're very good about
Barnaby
it.
does a great job.
Yeah.
So you guys, your team that you put together, you guys make this look flawless. Those conditions out there aside from it, I just bring it up because it shows you the effort and the work that goes behind what they do to make your experience perfect when you're doing it. You know, I've had the ability to go on these years and years ago when you guys were first launching it. You had a couple boats. How many gondolas are you at now?
We actually have 4 gondolas. We just launched our 4th one.
Oh my gosh.
So that was 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago on Friday. So we've got 4 gondolas in the fleet now, and actually we just, when we got the 4th one, we also got a different style of Venetian boat called a sondolo that will hopefully have on the Providence River before the end of the season, but at the very least we'll be operating it in Pawtucket for the Halloween festival.
That's awesome.
Yep, I got contacted by 1031 to see what we could do about setting up a rowed boat on their river during the event, and so they're going to dress me up as Charon, you know, with a hooded...
These guys are, I mean, Joe Perry, 1031 Productions, you guys are awesome. I'll definitely give you a big shout out. They outfitted me for the Gloria Gemma event that I just did. This event that they do is unbelievable. It's really, really fantastic. So hopefully you're going to launch it in the water here, but then that's going to be kind of an end of season thing to do over there with them. And what's the boat called again?
It is called a sondolo.
A sondolo, okay. So we'll see pictures of this, I'm assuming eventually they put it
Right,
out there.
there's a variety of different types of Venetian boats that are rowed. The gondola is the most famous of all of them, but there are maybe a half a dozen or 10 more.
So my first experience is when you guys had this is that I did it in Providence, and I felt, okay, when I went to Italy, I had to actually make sure that I did it in Italy to say that I did it in 2 parts of the world.
Sure.
And I went to Venice, and I got to tell you, the experience was much different because you can get seasick in Venice out there on the water.
I've never said that the trip in Providence is better than Venice, but I'll never say that it's worse either. It's just different.
I got to tell you, yes, it was different. That's a very good way to describe it, but I did not hesitate to go back on here. I did not, when I had another opportunity, go back on in Venice. But it was cool to be able to say that I did it in 2 different places and experience the authenticity of it.
Yeah, I've gotten to row actually in both places. And
have you really?
Oh, there's a magic to Venice that we could never replicate, obviously. Right. But you know, there's something to be said too for being one of only 4 gondolas out there, and you know, being in an operation or a part of the river where there's no wakes allowed, and that's kind of what makes Venice a little hairy.
Yeah,
all the other boats flying around.
That's a good point. So you know, I was able to mention in talking about all the various things that happen in the city. Last weekend was PVD Fest. This weekend's Gay Pride. How many days? How often are you guys out on the water now?
We actually operate every day, from the very beginning of April to the beginning of November, weather permitting. Now we're in high season, so 10 a.m. is the first reservation we'll take, 10 p.m. during the week, 11 p.m. on the weekends.
So how long is the gondola ride?
Normally it's about 40 minutes long, and on the standard trip with it we provide ice bucket glasses and opener, bring your own bottle, we serve handmade Italian wine biscuits to go with it, little Italian singing from your gondolier.
Nothing wrong with that.
Happy to hit the highlights, you know, if people are visiting, don't know the city well, or just want to play tourist in Providence.
And how many people can go out on a gondola?
We can fit up to 6 on each boat, and we have 4 of them now. So if people have a large group that they'd like to go out, might be able to plan it in the schedule where all the boats leave at the same time. We keep them together. But yeah, normally we'll do a trip for up to 6.
So this is one of those things, and we talk about all the special things we have in Rhode Island as a whole. This is a special, special experience to have in the city. And the city has evolved so much. There's so much to see when you're down. And the perspective from being on the water, I mean,
completely different.
Yeah, it's
even different from my perspective rowing.
Right.
Because you were even that far further down, you know, forced to kind of look up at everything. It really is an interesting perspective, especially for someone who, you know, walks the streets and drives through them to get to their job or whatever, goes to the restaurants. You don't get a perspective like being on the water anywhere else in the city.
I agree, and it's one of those magical experiences that we're fortunate to have in Providence. So between the new boat that he's got launching, the 4 boats that he has there, is there a recommendation window you tell people to look at? I mean, obviously Waterfire nights are very busy, but is there a specific time frame people should try to book in advance, or?
So Waterfire is very busy. Honestly, if you're looking to do something romantic, if you're looking to play tourists in the city, or if you have visitors coming in, we try and steer you away from Waterfire. Right. It's spectacular, but it really does kind of take away from all the other things that we do, you know, in terms of providing a personal and authentic and romantic experience. So I would say, to me, best time to be out on the water is the 45 minutes before sunset to 45 minutes after sunset. Anywhere in that window is where you're really getting Providence at its finest. You know, the lights in the city come up. 15 minutes before sunset would be absolutely perfect.
See, there you go. Now, in reaching out, they do have their website. You can call the office like I did to reach out to them as well. And then you want to keep in mind when these events are happening. Obviously, it's going to be busier time. A lot of people were saying, are they still taking reservations? He said, you can take reservations at any point, but it's going to depend on what's happening in the city. You know, I know that over the next 2 weekends, there's big events in the city, so reach out to them in advance if you are considering this. And if you're doing something special, I have a lot of people telling me, oh my God, that'd be great for an engagement. Well, yeah, it's happening all the time.
Yeah.
So if you are thinking of those things, reach out to Marcello and his team and talk to them about it so they can help kind of steer you in the right direction of how to make it happen to the way you'd like to see. Right?
You got it.
All right. Thank you for making the time to come in today. I
Thank you
greatly
very much.
appreciate
I
it.
really appreciate
And again,
it.
you'll see them all over the place every day out there.
Just like this.
Just like this, exactly. I'm Rick Simone. Thank you for joining me on The Taste today. Hope you enjoyed some of the summer event planning. I'll see you next Wednesday. This was very